How's it going, guys? I'm your host Caravan Gaming. Welcome back to this week's Adventure Quest release video. And this week we have another small release, but this release did generate quite a lot of talk because we are getting some very good items. Okay, so in order to get the items from this week's release, the best item by far is inside of the HarvestFest shop over here in the limited time shop button at Battleon. So we want to go to weapons, and the items I'm talking about are the pumpkin spice weapons. So we have the pumpkin spice blade for melee version, pumpkin spice lance for range version, and last but not least you have pumpkin spice rune tablet for the magic version. So what it does is, I think if you perform a fire hit the turn before, then you get celerity or something like that. I haven't really had the chance to test out the items yet. Okay, so another set of new items that they actually brought in were the Darkness Bloodzerker as well as Darkness Blood Mage armors as well as weapons. Now these are from the golden gift boxes. Okay, the weapons are going to be rare and the armors are going to be ultra rare. I do think that this came at a pretty late time, okay, simply because both of these are kinda outdated already by today's modern standards. For Darkness, obviously you have Necromancer, you have your Spellslinger's Obsidian Cloak, okay, and then for Warriors, well, let me think. Okay, Warriors don't really have like a fantastic darkness armor, so I guess this is still usable. The downside is that the attack is only like 2 hits, which is pretty bad considering all the damage caps that we have nowadays. As for weapons, well, mages don't really attack with weapons, and I will argue that if you have Infinita Staff, that's probably going to be better than the Bloodblade, but the Bloodblade is only a rare box, so I guess it's still pretty affordable. Same goes for the Warriors. Okay, Warriors, you have Eclipse Dragon Lord's Might, which is okay for regaining SP. You also have Shadow Reaper of Doom, but that's like ultra rare, and you have your what do you call it, Agony's Embrace. That's also good, but the Bloodblades, yeah, I would say they came at a pretty late time for the Darkness variant, but now I think the entire elemental view is already there in terms of Blood Mage and Bloodzerkers, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, we do have every single element covered already. Okay, so they are a bit useless now, unless they somehow revamp it to be a bit more useful in today's meta game. Otherwise, I would say these items are a pass, okay, except for the limited time shop, the weapons here, and they're actually really good. Okay, now I'll go through them. Now, a lot of people have been asking me what in the world got changed, because for those of you guys who are not aware, the items got changed, or should I say nerfed? Nerfed is a way better word to describe it. The items got nerfed, okay, just literally hours after its release. Even before I woke up, they did the release and they already nerfed the items. Yeah, that's right, all in the span of one night. Okay, of me sleeping. So it was actually pretty fast of them to do so. Now, let's look at what the weapon does now first before we talk about more about what they changed and what I feel about the changes. Okay, so the pumpkin spice rune tablet. Click to unleash a piping hot pumpkin spice celery latte, an efficient spell that also grants you celerity, causes 705 MP and has a 1 turn cooldown. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so now we now it triggers and now we get celerity. Okay, so you need 2 turns before it can flow again. Okay, 1 more turn. So yeah, it's efficient but also not efficient. Okay, this is meant to be an efficient spell. That's why the damage is kind of piss poor, if you guys notice. Okay, but you're paying. The reason why it causes more than a regular spell is because you're actually paying for the celerity. Okay, so you can see here, yeah, the damage is kind of crappy. It's also only 3 rounds. That makes it not that great in my opinion, but if you want another way of gaining celerity apart from using Shadow Feeder Pendant, this is guaranteed celerity, by the way, so I guess you can do this. The only downside is that you're pretty much locked to using the spell in order to gain the celerity from here. Alright, and then for the melee version, okay, the melee version, I think I will go ahead and change to my melee build. I will go ahead and change strength instead to give you guys like a more fair showcase of what it's capable of. Okay, now we are back with our melee build over here. We have 250 strength, so let's start the battle. Pumpkin Spice Blade. So I'm just going to attack. And yeah, the regular attack doesn't, nothing special, but you need to click on it. It will charge 333 SP and grant you 1 turn of celerity for 1 turn cooldown. So This will only work if you're attacking with fire. If you're not attacking with a fire hit, you do not get the celerity. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so let's say I activate it. Oh, it needs another 1 turn of cooldown. Okay, so let's say I activate this again. Okay, and if I switch over to a ice weapon, for example, I will not get the celerity, guys. But I think they refund me the SP, did they? I wasn't paying attention. Oh, you activate the next time you attack. So if I switch over to a fire weapon over here, and no, it still doesn't work. Oh, okay. Did they change it to only work with the weapon now? Okay, so yeah, now it only works with the weapon equipped. Okay, I can't remember if it was always working like this beforehand or they changed it. But prior to this, the change they did was that what you can do is you can go ahead and switch to another weapon or basically any other element that you have, and as long as you click on it, you will still get the celerity either way. Now they changed it such that you can only use it with the weapon itself, which I am actually okay with this change, to be very honest. Okay, because on the second turn you can still use something else. There's no restriction on the second turn, but the first turn you do have to use the weapon itself if you want to get the celerity for the next turn. Okay, that is the one downside that I have, and honestly I am okay with the change. What I am not okay with is the principle behind the change. Keep in mind, this was I believe it was an on-time release. They released this on Thursday for their time zone, but they did not bother to test this weapon out, and instead they wait a few hours after it's released to change it. And they claim that the change was not because of a few naysayers. Now just think about this, let this sink in. Okay, so they have delayed releases before, okay, and they've delayed it until Friday, Saturday, sometimes even Sundays. Okay, this was an on-time release, Thursday release. And how long did it take for them to nerf this weapon? Literally just a few hours after its release. Like, very fast. It was a very quick change. They didn't need to do anything major, so they could have tested and changed this weapon literally, and it only took them minutes or maybe even hours, just a couple of hours. My question is, why did they not do this before releasing the item? Why did they wait until the item is released before they go ahead and do this? They say that it was a genuine mistake and was not because of anybody's comments. That's why they changed it. I, however, do not agree with this, and I think they are just trying to gaslight us into thinking that, because this is a small change that can be done very quickly, and it would have been straight up obvious that if they thought that this was too powerful to begin with, they would have just changed it before the release. Why didn't they do that? Why didn't they just delay the release for a few hours? I mean, it wouldn't even have been a delay at all, because they would still have been able to push out the release on Thursday if they had bothered to do some testing before rolling out this item. But they did not do that. Instead, they waited for the item to be rolled out for a couple of people to test it out, and then they decide, oh no, it's the weapon is too good, so they need to nerf it. Now, I just want to make this clear that I am okay with this change. I do not think this change makes the weapon bad, but like I said, I do not agree with the principle behind this change. I strongly feel that they changed this because of a couple of naysayers, okay? And I think that is very unfair to the rest of the player base, because when they released this and when they changed it, like, it was literally a couple of hours. Majority of the player base, like we're talking like 99% of the player base, haven't even had the time to go ahead and buy this weapon to test it out, to try it out yet, and yet it was already changed before they could say anything, before any of them had any say in whether or not this weapon deserved to be changed. So you're telling me the staff only listens to a very select few people before they make this change? How is this fair to the rest of the player base? Guys, let me know. I know majority of my audience are the more casual players. You guys, you haven't even had the chance to test it out. You didn't even have the chance to give your opinions on the weapons, and yet it was already changed. Is this supposed to be fair for everybody here? And also, I want to point out that, yes, I do hope that they will push out changes faster, because the longer they delay changes, the less likely it is going to happen. I do acknowledge that, but here's the thing. It's been less than 24 hours. It's been less than 8 hours, in fact. Yeah, less than even half a day, and they changed it immediately with only the feedback from a few people. How is that fair? what if, you know, the majority of us say, hold on, the weapon was fine. So, but it's already too late because they already changed it. How is that fair to any of us? And these are the words from the dev himself. Okay, not the dev who performed the change, but another dev when I asked about it. So I asked, if the item was found problematic before release, then why was it released before it was changed? It's still early in the week and we have more delayed releases before. So I say that it's clear that it was changed because of the opinions of a few naysayers, okay? And the reply that I got was, because errors happen and we are not able to internally share feedback on the item with Cam while each working on a separate project at once. There's a few problems with this statement. First of all, mistakes happen. Okay, but why did you not bother to test it before you release it? Okay, you fixed this item within a couple of hours. This was a very small fix. So you're telling me you couldn't delay the release for like just a few more hours to test out the item? You've taken 5 minutes to test the item and decide whether it was too good or it was bad or whatever. And then you have taken like maybe an hour or 2 hours to change the item to what it currently was. Instead, they choose to release an item that was bad. Okay, they choose to release an item that was too good. And then afterwards, they get feedback from this small group of players and then they decide, hold on, this is too good, let's go ahead and change it. Okay, so that was what I said, and he, basically Lawkeeper, for those who don't know who Lawkeeper is the writer for the game, okay, he's telling me that errors happen and then they were not able to internally share feedback on the item with Cam while each working on a separate project at once. Hang on a minute. Lawkeeper is the writer, and he's only been around for a few years. Cam, on the other hand, he's one of the game's main coders, and he has been here for far longer than Lawkeeper has. In fact, I think he's been here coding items for the game for over 10 years. You're telling me an experienced coder needs a far less experienced writer to tell him how to balance an item? How does that make any sense? Guys, can you please tell me? Why does the experienced coder need an inexperienced writer to tell him how to balance an item? This is clearly bullshit, guys. What? For the people who believe this, please stop and think if this even makes any sense to begin with. It doesn't make any sense. Like, yeah, it just doesn't make any sense. Please do not believe every single thing they tell you, every single excuse they give you, because if you just stop and think for a moment, it doesn't even make sense at all. So don't buy into their bullshit. Okay, please, go ahead and think if it's even a logical explanation to begin with. Okay, so this strongly leads me to believe that they're just straight up biased. And by they, I actually mean Lawkeeper. The rest of the devs, I think they're still okay, but Lawkeeper, he passes on a lot of the feedback to the devs because he's like the unofficial community manager of the game as well. He also hangs out a lot in the third-party Discord, whereby a lot of people, they give all sorts of nonsensical feedback like this that results in stuff like this happening. Why are you basing the changes off a small group of people? Okay, majority of the player base hasn't even had time to test the weapon. How is this fair to any of us? Because I honestly felt that the weapon was fine in its first state, even though I didn't get to test it in that state, but I thought it was okay. Not that I hate the change now. I still think the weapon is a very fine weapon right now, but it could have been better, so why made it worse? Another reason that they gave for the change was because this allowed warriors and rangers to nuke better than mages, okay? So they saw this as a problem and they didn't want warriors and rangers to be able to nuke better than mages, because mage apparently has like a nuking identity inside the game, so they're trying to push towards individual identities for each build, and mage is basically the nuking build. Okay, they didn't want that. That was why they changed it. Now, I have been a mage user for a very, very long time, and I am perfectly fine with this. Okay, even as a mage user, I'm perfectly fine with this, and I think many other mage users are actually fine with this as well. So what if warriors and rangers can nuke a bit better? So what? That's my question. This is one item. One item isn't going to solve your whole identity crisis problem. No, it doesn't. And some weapons can be better for certain builds. Like some weapons are better for warriors, some weapons are better for rangers, some weapons are better for mages. Why does every item need to be the same for all the builds? It doesn't have to work that way? Why can't it be more flexible? Like, if this was meant to be like a warrior or ranger weapon, then let it be. Mages get the shorter end of the stick. Like, that's fine. Not every single item release has to cater to every single build in the game, because I think that's just not possible, and that will also make for very boring and very similar items. You can make some weapons that are better for other builds. But then you might say, okay, maybe what if they intended this to be used by mages? This is supposed to be a mage weapon. And to that, my answer is, no, it is not. The magic version of this weapon, it's an efficient spell that causes 705 SP. Can you see what the problem is? Like, you're getting low damage in order to get celerity. What is the point of that even? Why don't I just use Shadow Feeder Pendant, which is like 309 SP, and I nuke with something harder for the 2 turns instead of using a crappy efficient spell that barely does any damage, which has nothing to do with mage nuking. If you're talking about mage nuking and you want to talk about the nuke aspect, we're talking about regular spells, we're talking about overcharge spells. You're not talking about efficient spells when you talk about nuking, because efficient spells, yes, they are efficient. Some might claim them to be the best in terms of the value that they give for how much you're spending, but mages don't care about how much you're spending. You're caring about dealing the biggest amount of damage possible. That is literally the definition of nuking. Please go ahead and look it up if you don't understand. So you can't tell me that the weapon was meant for mages. That was why they nerfed it for warriors and rangers, because it doesn't make sense. And let us think about this even deeper, okay? Weapon skills exist. There are melee lock skills, there are also range lock skills. In fact, most of these skills in the game have a range form. Even if they don't have a melee form, they do have a range form. So warriors and rangers can nuke, actually. Even if not warriors, but rangers have the ability to nuke through skills. So what's the problem with rangers being able to nuke all of a sudden? It has never been a problem before. Why is it suddenly a problem now? And warriors, they have the ability to gain celerity through Shadow Feeder Pendant if they want to, or they can also use H series. That's not a problem. That's a very good armor. Everybody loves it. So why is this suddenly a problem now? I just do not understand the principle behind these changes, and I definitely do not agree with them either. Okay, so let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. They said that they are still closely monitoring the weapon and they might change it further. I hope that they do not, because right now I think the weapon is okay. It's definitely not the best anymore. After testing it myself, I don't feel like it's the most exciting weapon, because you're pretty much locked into using the weapon for the first round before you can get celerity. And even then, I would say the warrior and ranger version is still better, because 333 SP you get guaranteed celerity. Shadow Feeder Pendant, you're spending 309 SP with pet and gas, but your celerity is not guaranteed. So you might be spending a lot more than that for Shadow Feeder Pendant. So for warriors and rangers, I do think this is better. Okay, mages, however, I do think this weapon is still bad for mages, okay, especially the magic version, because 700 plus SP, you're barely dealing any damage. And if you want to talk about nuking for mages, this just ain't it, okay? And then the extra SP that you're paying, the extra MP that you're paying for celerity, is that worth it? No, I do not think so. As a mage, I feel like you want to conserve your MP for nuking, and then if you want to gain celerity, just use Shadow Feeder Pendant. Get celerity from using your SP bar instead. You have 2 resource bars you can use. Why is everything being funneled into 1 resource bar? Okay, so yeah, I feel like this weapon isn't really for mages either. So I do not get what is the reasoning behind the change. I hope you guys can comment down below your thoughts. I really would love to hear the thoughts of all of you guys, my audience, the casual players. What do you guys think of the change? Do you think it's a warranted change? Do you think this weapon is stupidly OP? Overall, I'll rate this weapon like an 8 out of 10. I think it's a good weapon, don't get me wrong, and I'm okay with the change. I just do not think that it is as overpowered as everyone claims it to be. So yeah, that's going to do it for today's video. Till the next time, I'm your host, Korban Gaming. Peace out.